again, these are all replicas of antique animation toys or devices, kind of starting with the thaumatrope, which was developed in the very beginning of the 19th century, which kind of composites two images together in our minds as we see it spin. And so this is really kind of the first example of kind of animation in the physical form. And then that kind of developed into something like the zoetrope, which when we look at it this way, just looks like a blurry mess. But when we look at it this way, we can see the animated image.
That is so cool.
It is cool.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that so much of what we now associate with animation is really just kind of screen-centric. And so a big part of my goal is to bring animation back out of the screen and into the physical form, and so that it really kind of recaptures the magic that I think that we associate with the medium of animation. And so the piece that I'm working on right now kind of draws from this, which was a praxinoscope, which is kind of the child of the zoetrope, which rather than looking through slits, we're seeing the image reflected in mirrors.
Wow.
And so it's the same idea that Émile Reynaud used to craft his théâtre optique, which was the earliest form of movie projection, kind of as we know it. And so it kind of used this same process to create longer form narratives. And so that's what I'm building is a piece over here. And so the idea of this one is that instead of like a traditional praxinoscope where we would put the images here on the inside and give it a spin, instead with the théâtre optique, what Reynaud did was he took the images on the strip and put it around the outside so that you would see it kind of through those little windows right there. Right? And then this is just a small strip meant to kind of fit the reel. But the piece that he built and that I am recrafting will actually be a much longer strip. And so it'll kind of go around the reel and then go out and run along a number of other smaller reels down the wall, back again, and then back through. So rather than having 12 image animation, or in this case, an 18 image animation, we can have much longer forms of narrative and storytelling. And so the piece that I'm building is 192 frames, which is, needless to say, quite a bit more, about 16 seconds worth of animation. So
just 16 seconds?
Just 16 seconds.
All that work.
All that work, 34 feet for 16 seconds. So again, I think that that's one of the other things that hopefully this project is doing, is kind of really giving animation a sense of scale, right?
Yeah.
When we see it all just together on a screen, we don't really get a sense of the care and practice that went into creating every one of those individual images that, when combined together and shown at a high speed, makes animation.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Can I also just point out something I noticed, just because we're rolling?
Yeah.
This is 3D printed?
Yeah, so all of the pieces of the reel have been 3D printed. And
That's
so
amazing. So you literally just made this from the ground up.
Well, yeah, in the computer space, right? And then kind of 3D printed it kind of piece by piece to create kind of the base shape. And then the reel is a combination of a number of pieces, and then the central hub with the mirrors as well. And so 3D printing does give us a level of precision, which is important for the optics. But then we can also just be creative. So, I just made a piano top because this reel is actually going to sit on top of a record player over here. And so this is going to be the motor drive that actually kind of runs the animation. But rather than just sitting on top of a motor, it will also be a record player. So there's a custom lathe cut record featuring a piano piece played by Dr. Annie Jing, who's in the School of Music at UNCG. So she played this piece. It's beautiful, and it will stand in concert with the visual work presented on the animation. So you'll hit start on the record player will do its thing, play the music. Meanwhile, the animation will be driven by that same that same motor. And again, I think that one of the interesting things is that kind of music and animation both arrived in the home in the middle of the 19th century. Animation by way of the zoetrope and praxinoscope, and music, of course, by way of the phonograph. So we're kind of relinking these two mediums in this piece. So anyway, that's the idea.